Kelly, Kelly.
I know. I know. I know. How was your holiday?
It was good. It wasn't long enough. It pushed me all the way back because I came to work today saying, "Oh, I get it by end of day on Wednesday." Yesterday, I'm telling people this yesterday. So I got it at the end of the day. I'm like, "Oh, today was Tuesday, so they supposed to be having it by today end of day." So I'll be thrown off after the holidays. What about you?
For sure, for sure. Same, too short as always.
Yep. Let me see. So I started recording. If Deb, Stephanie, if y'all have any questions or whatever, please feel free to chime in. So to start this session today, this is our focus regarding interviews. Because I know that a lot of people, I've gotten better. I can't say that, but I did used to struggle with them a lot more, and I always have room for improvement. So I think that interviews are a sore spot for a lot of people, especially those that are not really familiar with the tech landscape and how things look and et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to have a conversation centered specifically that was focused specifically on interviewing. Because your resume is a certain way, LinkedIn a certain way, but you still have to interview, period. And I know a big thing within the tech space, in which I always am very pointed about, is the fact that tech is application based. Meaning that you can put whatever on your resume, you can say whatever, you can do whatever, but at the end of the day, you still have to be able to prove that, or at least have some sort of knowledge that you know what you're talking about for real. And that comes in with the interviews. So I wanted to incorporate that tonight. Hi, Jamaica. Hi, Brittany. I wanted to incorporate that tonight because I think that it's important. And it's a sore spot for a lot of people, especially culturally for us, because there's a gap sometimes to where we are typically, you're navigating a space where it's different, so it's just a different type of environment. So I just wanted to have a conversation tonight on interviewing.
For sure. And that's what gets you the job offer. So the resume will get you the first step because it's step by step. It'll get you the pre-screen. It'll get you potentially in front of decision makers and hiring managers. But that interview is where you get to tell your story. You get to sell yourself. You get to advocate on your behalf. You get to share your value with the people that will be making the decisions on whether or not you receive the offer. So that's a step in the process. And this is the most important step. When they get to meet you and see how you interact with them, how they envision you on their team in front of their clients, this is the most important part. The resume, to Lorita's point, is super important because that's going to get you the first step. And then you have your formal interview process. But each step gets you closer and closer to that offer. And that's what you want.
And I know you actually touched on 3 different things that I wanted to talk about. The first thing is you touched on advocating for yourself and selling yourself in a sense. And I know that is a gap for a lot of people. And the reason that I say that is because people are not comfortable with talking about themselves, period. Myself included, it makes me cringe. And I've actually missed out on a real life offer because I said in the interview, it said we, us. And that was the feedback that the recruiter gave me. And I'm thankful for that because from there, I was able to be like, you know what, you're right. I was trying to pay myself as being collaborative. And in the end, it was but what can you do though? So I think that that's a strong point to state that when you are in those interviews, that is your time to be like, this is what I do. This is the value that I bring.
For sure. And there's a delicate balance between the two because you are essentially working on a team. If you're in a business unit, if you're in a department, so it's a delicate dance that you have to do when you're selling and advocating on your behalf. You are truly there to sell yourself. You're like a walking billboard. Your skills are the product that you hold. So, talking about what you bring to the table, the value you can add to the team, to the decision maker, to the organization. And that's where you start with your research and all the things it takes before you get inside. Know what the challenge is, know why the role is open, know if it's a new or a backfill, know all those things so you can speak intelligently about the value you bring to the table, how you were able to, if you are in leadership or management, how you were able to lead a team or spearhead a team. If you were a part of a team, take out the part you did in the results and the outcomes and the achievements that you acquired as a result. So it's a delicate dance that you do in there, and you'll know by the questions what they're looking for. So it is also listening, and preparation is key. You're not trying to be perfect. You just want it to land, so you want to be permanent. Practice makes permanent. Never go for perfect, because none of us are.
Right. Mm-hmm. You said to listen. Listen for the question that they ask you. And with the questions that they ask you, it'll help you be able to frame your answer.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
What do you mean by that?
So there's different types of interview questions, right? You all have heard of behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when. Everybody's heard of that, right? Mm-hmm. So when you hear that, when you hear the word when, they're looking for a scenario-based response. So that means the STAR framework, which is situation, task, action, result. So that's a framework.
Okay.
They're looking for a specific situation that you were in that you can speak about your results. When you hear that word when, that's your trigger. Oh yeah, Kelly told me that's behavioral. Let me use STAR. You have your framework. You've already thought about the type of scenarios that you've had throughout your career, and you'll use that. There's an event-based question where it's a particular event. So maybe it's not about a particular time, but they may say, have you used Tableau before? Right? What are you going to say? What are you going to talk about? Are you going to use STAR? Are you going to give them a situation? Maybe you've never used it before. So how do you speak to that? And in either scenario, you have to talk about either I'm familiar with or I've been exposed to if you haven't used it. And if you have, you want to give them that STAR framework. I've used Tableau when I was working at Coca-Cola. There were many times where we had to provide da-da-da-da-da-da. As a result, I remember one instance when we did, and you've given them, now you go right into your STAR. So you always have a framework so you're not all over the place. You're not mumbling. You're not rambling. You're not going here and going there. Mm-hmm. You always want to be concise and succinct. That way they can envision you on their team, talking to their clients, that you're super polished, you're buttoned up, you're professional. Yes, you're going to be nervous, and they know that. And that's okay. It's okay to be nervous. But remember, you got one time.
That's true.
You got one time to make a first impression. We all know that, right? One time to be memorable, because they may have 10 candidates that day. So you got one time. So push through the nerves. Let them be there. Acknowledge them. Say, I know you're here, but I got to get this.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I was checking the chat. Do we have any other questions? Because I can go. I go. Okay. I know with navigating into the space of tech, typically it's multiple rounds of interviews. I know, like I spoke on earlier with, and I tell people, and I tell them that, like I scream it from the rooftops. I don't care what certificates you have. I don't care what training you have. I don't care about any of that. Tech is application based.
It is. Lorita, give me 1 second.
Okay. Y'all feel free to ask. Hold on, let me get my water while she goes. Oh, here we go.
Those multiple rounds really, really get to me. 4 rounds, 5 rounds. Oh gosh, it's just so drawn out.
It can be. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So you were saying what now?
Yeah. I was saying while you were gone, I was saying that I tell them all the time that it's not uncommon to have like multiple rounds of interviews. It's not uncommon for you to have multiple conversations with different people. Um, is it possible? Can you walk us through like what is a recruiter screen? When you're screening, what do you look for? What are some things that you look for and you're like, you know what, go? Because like I stated before, like it's application based. So as a technical recruiter, you might not have the deep technical exposure, but you know what they're looking for and you know certain signals to push people ahead. You got to get through their screen first. The screen is, I don't even know if I consider the screen an interview because it's a screen, but it's very important because it is the gate for an interview. So as a tech recruiter, what are some of the green flags, I would say, that you look for to say, okay, well, this person might be worth a second note? And what are some common mistakes that people make that they probably don't even realize that they're making?
Mm-hmm. Always take that first interview as a real full-on interview. I get the question, I just had one of my clients ask me, is this a real recruit? They're all real.
Okay.
They're all real. And somebody didn't get it, and you did. So you should take it seriously. That's first. And when it comes to pre-screening, there are several different type of situations. So what I would do most of the time when I was in corporate, I would ask that hiring manager, if I wasn't well versed in Python or programming languages that they were looking for, I'd have him give me the questions or her to give me the questions. And often they would say, if they know these three things, and then I'll say, well, give me the questions to ask, and they'll give me the answers. You'll know if it's real specific and technical, right? You'll know. And sometimes I would even say, you know what, the hiring manager had me ask these questions. So let's go through these and then I'll learn more about what you're looking for. So that first interview, number one, I would say take it seriously because that's going to get you past that gatekeeper, which is the recruiters. That's going to get you to the next step. Even if it is a pre-screen, they are screening you to ensure you're a fit to move on because the recruiter doesn't want to be embarrassed and get feedback potentially to their boss to say, you know, Kelly's sending me all these bad candidates, right? So they're going to screen and make sure that you are exactly what they're looking for or close to, right, for the decision maker. So they'll say, what's motivating you? This is what I used to say. What's motivating you to be in the market right now? You're either going to respond, you know, I'm looking for another opportunity. I just relocate, whatever the case is. So I'm looking for your motivation. That's going to help me on the back end. That's going to also help me when I'm summarizing to the decision maker why you're in the market. Because for the most part of decision makers, hiring managers want what's called passive candidates. Those are people already working.
Okay.
Because in the hiring manager's mind, I'm not saying it's right or wrong,
right,
but this is 101. They think that people that are not working are the ones nobody wants. Again, this isn't Kelly's thinking. This is just how they think about that. It's different now because the market is totally different.
Yeah.
But this is how we were kind of brought up into the staffing space, and hiring managers that hire, they think that, you know, passive candidates, passive, they should already be working, and that means that they're wanted and somebody's already paying them, right? So I always tell my clients just to be careful in how you respond to that question when they ask, what's motivating you right now? Why are you in the market? They're going to always ask, why are you looking? Regardless of how they say it, why are you looking right now? Right? And so you want to respond with either growth opportunity or something positive. I tell my daughter this all the time because she'll, you know, turn up on like she got mad at you. Can't do that. You cannot do
They're going to be like, no.
She tell the truth. Right?
Yeah.
She want to tell the truth, but you can't say that. You can't say that.
Yeah.
So we look to screen, and typically your answers are in that job description. Those first 3 to 5 bullets is what they're looking for. Do you have this? Tell me about a time when you use this or how you've used this. Are you familiar with? And a lot of times, like Lorita said, recruiters are not going to be as technical as you. They're not going to be more technical than you. Right? So if it sounds good, look at the job description. Use those buzzwords, those keywords. If you're saying a lot of, Tableau and SQL and Pip, they're like, oh, they know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have a clue. So we're really just screening to make sure, one, why you're in the market. Two, do you fit the requirements? Or do you require sponsorship? What's your salary range requirements? Really basic questions. Now, since you all are in the tech space, you may get an exercise first, a coding exercise first. We may say, well, we're going to send you this coding exercise first before we even submit to the hiring manager, just to get that out the way, because they don't want to go through all these interviews and then you can't
do the work. Right.
Yeah. So a lot of time, I know at Microsoft, that's what they did. They would send those that, I think it was called Codify, something like that.
Yeah, Codify.
Get that out the way. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, long answer, but pre-screen is really just to ensure you're a fit for the role and to be passed on to the hiring manager.
Mm-hmm. And you actually touched on a lot of other parts as well. You touched on those technical assessments. I know the way that I always guide like people, and the way that I navigate, because I'm still out here too. The way that like I navigate the space is like that screening. I'm gonna get as much data as I possibly can, and what I mean by that is I'm gonna leave that screen with, first of all, my first data point: money. How much? What's the salary range for this role? Like that's the first data point. What y'all paying? And then the second one is, what are the expectations? Meaning, like, how many interviews can I expect? What do they look like? I know when you stepped off for a second, Dale made the comment that those multiple rounds of interviews, like, they are exhausting, and they are. I swear they are. And I always try to get as much information in the beginning on the front end on those expectations, like how many rounds of interviews and what do they look like? Because I've always had that conversation as well with the students. Like, you might, with you navigating and transitioning into tech, you might get a technical assessment just to see if you can apply what you say you know how you can apply. If you know SQL, if you know these things, and to give you that ability, because it's easy to say I know it, but the gap is application. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got to prove it. And y'all got we got the AI and these fake people now. And
exactly.
There's, Lorita, I can get Lorita to take the test for me, Lorita. Act like you Kelly. You take, like, they're not playing with that anymore. They scan, and some of the resumes, you wonder why you not get a call back. If you're using ChatGPT, they know. Don't think they don't know. It's nothing wrong with it, but you do have to edit it, because if the system is screening for just AI application, it may screen you out and you've tailored it, but you haven't touched on what they're looking for. So you got to think about all of that now, which is really unfortunate, because it's like jumping hurdles right now. That's trying to true. Just get an interview and get to the interview process. But you definitely should ask what you should expect in terms of, the interview process. What is the hiring process? I know at Google, they'll send you a letter, and it would, if they fly you in, you can expect to be there all day.
Yeah.
They're going to feed you lunch, and then you're going to go back in, and you're going to be 2 hours with one person. Like, they'll tell you, most companies, a recruiter should spell it out in an email, who you'll be meeting with, their LinkedIn profile, how long, what they'll be assessing you for, what to expect with Lorita, what to expect with Kelly, what to expect with Deborah, what to expect with Sam when you're doing this is what you want to prepare for. And the best thing I can tell you is to prepare.
Yeah.
We get that you're smart, but you need to prepare. Mm-hmm. Everybody should prepare.
I agree. For
sure. And you have the right to ask any questions up front to make sure you are prepared. Ask that recruiter, what is the hiring manager looking for in this role, right? What happened to the person? Is this a new field or is this a backfill? When the person left, were they promoted? How do you all feel about it? Get as much information from that first person as possible. Ask for the person's name, how, when you met with him, what was he or she saying that they were looking for, what they were looking to fill this. And if you get to build a rapport with the person. They'll say, well, they're looking to fill this yesterday, which they all are, but get as much intel as you possibly can to help you. Because this is your interview as well. It's a two-way street. You may not like them.
Baby.
You know, you might not like them. So figure it out. Why did they let them go? And how do you all feel about internal promotion? I know it's taboo now to talk about diversity, but that's something I would ask about. I would go on the site. I would look at the leadership team. Does anybody look like me? Mm-hmm. That's something I would want to know. I know now it's a little different. You got to manage that a little differently. Mm-hmm. But that's important to me. Mm-hmm. That's important because I'm there more than I am at home. So I need to know what I'm into.
At least some sort of like post. I know the way I look at it is if I get an interview, the way that my brain like compartmentalizes it is this job was posted because y'all are trying to solve a problem. Let me figure out what this problem was and let me get, like you said, as much information on that very first conversation as I possibly can. And in the event that I do interview and let's say I don't get the offer for that role, I'm going to remain in contact with their recruiter, like, period. Like, I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to connect with them on LinkedIn because I think that that's important as well. Because, like you said, once you build that rapport, you have that connection with people. Because at the end of the day, it's people, you know.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And you can, I know I've shared that before on here, but that's something you want to remember after your interview. If it's a panel of 5, you may have built a rapport with 2 of them, and you can tell by their face.
Yeah, you can always
their mannerism and all of that. Connect with everybody before you go in there, right? And you're just assuming you're going to get along with everybody. You're going to build a good relationship with everybody. And then when they connect back, because especially recruiters, we connect to everyone to build our database. But people move on, right? That recruiter may not stay at that job. They may go somewhere else. And then you can send a quick, oh, congratulations, I see you moved, to keep the relationship, keep the connection. Same is true for the people that you interview with, the panel. They move on. People move on, people move up, people move out. Connect with them. They may not connect back, but at least follow them. So you never know. You never know. I've seen this happen several times where, I remember interviewing you. You know what? I was one of the ones that wanted you to, come, but, it wasn't up to me. All that happens. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you leverage those relationships while you're there. Anyone that you're exposed to, that you have exposure to, that's a relationship that you can build. That's a network that you can build. Mm-hmm. I think we make that mistake when we meet people. When y'all are in groups like this, all y'all should be connected on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you never, ever know. Deborah could become the VP of something, and Brittany could be out of work. Hey, remember we was in Lorita's cohort? And then, you never know, y'all.
Yeah.
I know we weren't taught that, so it feels a little awkward, and we don't connect, we don't network, we don't do things like that. But I'm telling you, that's what others do. Mm-hmm. Y'all know what I'm saying? That's what they do.
Yeah. And I think it's very important. I have people like after I interview, like if I'm sitting on the interview panel, I have people, I instantly see what they connected with me on LinkedIn, like instantly. Mm-hmm. Because I think, and I always accept it because it's like, I don't know if I like everybody, but most people I'm like, I kind of like them, Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is a thing.
Yeah, for sure. And think about it, like, you don't even have to like, somebody to work with. There's people that do business, they don't like each other, but they know they're going to make some money if we get together.
Right.
So they put their emotions aside. That's true as well when you're in a working relationship. There's people you work with today, you got to work with them. You got to work with them people over in finance and over in sales and over in marketing. And you don't like them, but you got to go over there and put the face on and be nice. You got to work with them, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to like them, but they will respect you. Make sure of that. But don't allow yourself to get emotionally attached to your title and the work that you do and miss out on opportunities because you don't like somebody. You never, ever, ever, ever know. You never know.
You just, I ain't even finna go there, but you just definitely... I think another pattern that I see is that when people are interviewing and when people are like applying, when people are doing those things, they do get emotionally attached sometimes. And while in a way I kind of get it, like it's valid because you're out there, in a way, a side of me have seen so much out here in these streets to where it's like, separate that, baby. Like I've seen people get offers to where it's like they got the offer because of who their neighbor was or who they were connected with, or I've been passed up on opportunities to where I know the person got that because of you are connected with this person due to whatever the case is. And it is natural for you to take it as a blow, like, dang, but it's also at some point it does impact your mental health because you are like ingesting all that. And I think that that's important what you said, to try to separate like your emotions from your career in a way, especially over here. I had to learn it the hard way.
Yeah, it's hard because you do take it personal, especially when you're getting letters in your email saying that they've selected someone else. It's not as easy as it sounds, but it's one job, it's one interview, it's one opportunity. And on the flip side, you just need one job, one interview, and one opportunity. So the less that you can take it personal, the better off you are from a mentality perspective and just keeping yourself motivated to continue on, because you're not the only one and they're not going to remember you. You don't need to remember them. You got to keep it moving, keep applying, and be more strategic than tactical. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. You don't have to listen to who everybody else is listening to. I had a mentor that told me the reason how he got so many businesses in his portfolio is because he go where everybody else is not going. You have to do the same thing. If everybody is on Easy Apply, go somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't even deal with Easy Apply. You talking about like on LinkedIn? Yeah, if something on there, I'll be like, nah. Or either I go directly to the website and like do it from there. Like,
go do something different. Do something different. And emotions unfortunately get a lot of people in a lot of trouble. I saw a couple of weeks ago this guy, I think he got 240 years because he said he let his emotions get to him and he shot somebody. He said, I'll never get to see, his daughter's 3. He said, I'll never get to see my daughter get married, go to college, get all the things because he allowed his emotions to get the best of him. And I tell people this all the time because, especially if you're Black, we're emotional. We're emotional creatures and human beings from our ancestors. All they had was emotion. That's why they sang songs and all of that. I ain't gonna get too deep into that, but we got to check that.
Yeah,
we got to check that, especially at work. Y'all already know. We got all this the stigma, especially women, angry Black women, and then how they look at me and all that. We got to check that. Again, I never said let anybody disrespect you. Do not tolerate that. But check your emotions. Sometimes leave your egos and your pride. Are you responding because of your ego? Per my request.
Yeah.
What I said yesterday.
Yeah.
Is that an ego thing? Check it. Ask yourself before you hit that send button. Is this ego? Do I really have to say that like that?
Yeah.
I have to do that. And sometimes I'll wait till the next day because I know I'm typing based off emotion. And I don't want anybody ever to see me sweat. I cry in the car. Like Chris Tuckerson. Go cry in the car. Don't let nobody see me.
Yeah.
Chris Brown.
Yeah. And that's true. Like I literally, this was probably in 2023, I think. But anyway, I had suggested an initiative and someone else came behind me and suggested the same initiative. How ironic. And a part of me wanted to check. Like a part of me, I
know.
But then I literally talked myself back. Was like, you know what? The direct deposit still gonna hit.
For sure.
It's still gonna hit. Yeah, like it's you good. And I literally like it just was it was personal for me because like why I said that on Tuesday.
I know.
It's today next Tuesday, and you said the same thing. So
I know. Some people know how to push your buttons.
yeah. So
They
yeah, it's
want
a
you to
real
flip
thing.
out. They want you to flip out. You got to be careful because some people know you better than you think they do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
How should students talk about themselves if they? I know for one, I know with tech, going back to that application, everything is app based. Everything is app based. You say you know their skill, but what did you do with it though? Which opens up the opportunity, or which closes the opportunity with portfolios, with showing you've done the work, with doing all of that, with actually doing the work. How should someone speak to that in an interview? I know you mentioned it or you touched on it earlier when you mentioned like Tableau. How should someone speak to that in an interview when they say, okay, well, I have not done this in a formalized setting, a formal setting. However, I have my portfolio. This is the work that I've done. I've analyzed, or in our case, I've analyzed this data and I've shown these things. What's the best way for someone to speak to that work while not actually doing that work in a formal environment?
I always say to be truthful about it, and you never want to say what you don't have. You want to tell them what you do have. If you've been exposed to it, or if you're familiar with. So those two right there, I've been exposed to, or I'm familiar with, and then talk about your familiarity with it. Like I worked on a project with my coach where we were working on. You should have details to it because you can talk all day long.
Yeah.
You can talk. You can take somebody's GitHub and say it's yours.
Yeah, that's true.
You can take somebody's project and their portfolio and say it's yours. Decision makers and stakeholders, they've seen it all. They're not stupid. You should be able to talk them through each and every detail and every step. I told a story about my friend Coretta when she got her manager role at Home Depot. When she walked into the office and she was getting ready for the interview, and the hiring manager said, "Tell me how you tie your shoe." Now, this is a leadership role that she was going for. And she said, "Yeah, walk me through how you tie your shoe."
Mm-hmm.
Somebody tell me why they would ask that type of question. Does anybody know?
I know. Oh,
Anybody know?
Maybe to see if she can explain something like in layman's terms to people. Like I said, she's gonna be in leadership. She needs to be able to, explain things in a simple way, or maybe explain simple things in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. No, that's it. You and Brittany both. That's
yeah,
it. It's a level of detail, right? At a leadership level, it's a level of detail. I take the right shoestring and I cross it over the left shoestring. And then I pick up the left shoestring and I pull it up to the left side. And then I take the right one and I put it underneath the left one and I pull it up on the left hand side. And then I take both the left and the right and I pull both of them at the same time. And then I lift up the right one to make a bow and I put my finger in there. It's the level of detail. Because when you're talking to clients, when you're talking to customers, when you're trying to explain data, can you tell the story of the data?
Mm-hmm.
So the level of detail, that was the reason for the question. Now that's a little out there. That's Elon Musk type question. But this is what they're assessing. So you can say all day of what you did. Yeah, I worked on this and, they're going to ask you, I guarantee you. So tell me about it. They will probe to really see if you worked on that project. Like Lorita was saying, they're going to want to know. You can't just say, well, I have a portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's yours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a clue if that's yours. Talk me through, what did you work on? Who was it for? What was it about? What was the results?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to sit there and give them a list like it's duties and tasks and like your 10-year-old, I went outside, Mom, and I got some ice cream. And you walk them through detail that only you would know and how you did that. If there was a bug in something, how did you find the bug? What made you think there was a bug? How did you address how did you do it? Not something from ChatGPT, not something from a book, but you, Brittany, you tell me how you know what I was thinking. And I was wondering why I kept getting this, I don't know what y'all get when y'all get a bug, but I kept getting this, and I start thinking, and then I went over here and I pushed this and it didn't work, and then I went over here. That's the level of detail. You're like, oh yeah, Brittany's that girl. She knows what she's talking about.
It's crazy that you mentioned it, because one thing that I always guide them to do, especially navigating the space and transitioning into this space, is that when you are doing a technical assessment, and it is a possibility that it is a live technical assessment, to talk through what you're doing. Like, if you're looking and even if it sounds like, oh, I'm just looking at my data, which is data investigation. Even if it sounds so small, it provides the hiring team for opportunity to say, okay, this person understands how to think through things. They understand like what to look for from the base level, or from that ground. They understand, okay, I'm going to look at my data. I'm doing my data investigation. Now I see the data relationships between these tables. And now, whatever the case is, and there's always an expectation to ask questions. Like when you're interviewing, ask questions too, especially in those technical assessments, because in your real life, you're going to be asking a stakeholder questions. What are y'all trying to get? What are you trying? What questions are you trying to answer so that I can support that gap, so I can solve that problem? And I think that is what they look for as well in those interviews, is your ability to kind of assess the situation and say, okay, well, what would be a good follow-up question for this? How do I solve this? What else, or what other data points do I need to be able to answer this question? All of those things, it sounds so small, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like, okay, talk through your stuff. Talk through it, because it's easy to just say, I know it. But if you understand it, you can talk through it effortlessly.
You should be able to. And more times than not, they're looking to see how your thought process, how you process the information that was given, which is the interview question, and then how you think about it. If you're so quick to answer, you didn't even think about it, it can sound canned.
Yeah.
Like you got it from somewhere. But if you're taking a second, I call it the 3-second pause. 3, 2, 1. Two things come to mind when you ask me about the last project I worked on. When I was you give them two. That's why it's good to use a framework, right? You're setting them up, you're level setting expectations. Right there, you get ready to give them two things, and you already got in your back pocket before you came in the door, two things that you were going to talk about. Pull them out right then. You know what? Two things come to mind. When I was working at Pepsi, I worked on da-da-da-da. And then the other time is when I was working at so-and-so, and the result was XYZ, right? So you have a framework already there. You sound concise and you're succinct. They want to see that you can think about and process what they're asking. Not that you're quick to answer, because there's going to be times in the role that you're pursuing, that you're there for, where you got to think about things. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And they want to know that you can put some thought behind it, and then you can come up with a solution. And you're able to talk through, how you came up to this solution. Because again, every job open is a problem. It's a challenge that they're having. So if you're a solutions provider, what is your solution to this?
It is probably somebody. It's not funny, but it's funny. Somebody asked me one time in an interview. It was for what was the role? I think it was a business analyst role, and one of the primary expectations was to gather requirements from the business team and take them back to the tech team. But one of the questions was, can you explain to me how to build a sandwich? And it went back to your shoe, and me, I was just like, okay, you gotta open up. I went all the way back to you gotta go to the store and get the bread. Go get your stuff. And I think that it did, and I did get that offer, but I don't want to work with them. But that's a different story. But I think that it did give you the opportunity to say, this is how you got to start from the beginning to reverse engineer something, but yeah.
But that shows how you think though.
Yeah, because I'm going to go to the store. As a matter of fact, Kelly, this is not funny, but it's funny. I got in a car. That was the first step. I got in the car.
That shows how you think and how you process information. That's so true. That's
Yeah.
so true. And that's what they're looking for. That's what they're looking for. Y'all remember that meme that was going around Instagram that said, would you rather have $500,000 or lunch with Jay-Z?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people wouldn't know what to ask Jay-Z. They wouldn't know the right questions. So they'd be better off taking the money. Because again, it's about your questions. I can tell a lot when I'm talking to people and, assessing and seeing if it makes sense for us to work together. I can tell a lot about where they are based on the questions they ask or the responses. So I've applied 100 times, Kelly, and I haven't received a job. Well, let's see, that would be about 30 times a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means you probably applied about maybe 5-6 times a day. Let me see let's go to your Gmail. Let me see all the responses that you said you get. Well, maybe it's not 100 times in a month. Maybe it's probably 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be careful, especially for people that really listen. Because really, it's like when you go to the doctor's office. I'm not going to give you a prescription either. Doctor's not going to give you a prescription without asking. On a scale from 1 to 5, how much is the pain? How much does it hurt? How long have you had this problem? When did it start? Are you on any other medication? How long have you been taking that? These are the things to get you to the prescription.
Let me find out you're a doctor.
Yeah. These are the things you should be asking in your interview as well, though. When it's time for you to ask questions, how do you all respond to internal promotions? What are some of the growth projections for 26 and 27? What is the growth for this role? How long has this role been open? How long has this department been in? How long has leadership been in this role? Do you foresee any type of layoffs? Given the current administration, is there funding involved? Because you want to get paid.
Yeah.
Right? All of this should be very important to you right now, especially when you should look all of this up. How do these people get paid? Is it investors? Who's on the board? Who makes decision? If they step down, what's going to happen to this company?
Mm-hmm.
All of that is important. All of that is important.
You touched on one of my questions because I was going to ask about asking questions. I remember back in the Gap when I used to interview and it's like, you have any questions? Like, no, but I do and I actually still interview people to this day that when we're done, they don't have any questions. And I'm like, girl, what? Make up something, but I think that that's very important as well because to me, interviewing is a two-way street. And like you mentioned earlier with when you're on the front end and it's like you're trying to gather as much information as a candidate, I'm trying to gather information about the hiring manager because I need to know your management style. Are you a micromanager? What are your expectations? What is your definition of work-life balance? Because to me, some things are non-negotiable to some people. And if you have things that are non-negotiable to you, those are things that you ask because interviews, like you say, they're a two-way street. Has to be good for both parties,
Absolutely.
This
Absolutely.
Transactional.
Mm-hmm. How you like to receive feedback, how they like to give it. What are your communication channels? Are you an email person, a text person? Because I remember when I did a contract with Starbucks. That woman thought she could email me at because they were on Mountain Standard Time, any time of the day. And I had to let her know. Now, this was when I was really, really young and I was nervous, but I'm like, she can't call me at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, no.
So I had to set those boundaries, but that's how they worked. That's their culture. I was just contract. Don't call me at 9 o'clock at night. It don't work like that. So level setting expectations, right? And ask those types of questions because they're going to say anything to get you in the door, right? All of that. You can also go to the glass doors. You can reach out to peers on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm thinking about accepting a job here. I see that you worked here back in 2024. What were your thoughts? Girl, I left there because they don't like to pay, or they didn't pay me for 5 weeks, or they ran out of funding, or they expect you to work on weekends, or I've been on call, or I tried to get a promotion as a director, and I applied internally 15 times, and I never got a response. I had somebody like that worked at Pepsi. She was trying to get into a director role. She'd been there for almost 12 years. It's time to go.
Oh yeah, and it would have. You got about 2 years for me, like 2 years, and I'm gonna be on LinkedIn. Okay.
Right. So ask the questions how they feel about certain and things that are important to you and your quality of life. And you have people depending on you. You want to ask, those very important that are questions that are important to you and what makes a difference to you. Some people aren't motivated by money. I know that's why we all work. But it could be growth. It could be acquiring skills. It could be training and professional development. Or do they offer stipends? Do you get to go to events and conferences? Like all of that you can ask.
Yeah.
You can ask.
What are some good ways to talk about like a weakness or gap?
Familiar with or exposure to. So when you don't want to say you have a weakness.
No, I'm talking about like if at the interview when they're like, "Can you tell me what your weakness is?"
Oh, your weakness is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You talk about something that was an area of opportunity.
Okay.
Versus a weakness. So one of my areas of opportunities was, you could say I don't know, lack of communication or something like that. I'm just making up something. One of the areas of opportunities that I had to work on was communicating more effectively. I realized when I started working, I kept everything in my head. So now what I do is I write out my days or I write out my weeks. So I see everything that I have to do. When I have to send an email, I ensure that I include the following things. And then whatever your framework is, what the subject is, what the whatever it is in the thing. So not only are you talking about your area of opportunity, but you're talking about how you learned from it and what you do now. So everybody has areas of development, but I always correct them politely and say that it's the area of opportunity that I've had. And here's how I'm either learning, to get better, or a way that I got over that was to do X, Y, and Z. So talk about it, but always tie back into your learning lessons from that and what you do now. Mm-hmm. That's what you're looking for. One, that you don't say that you don't have any.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. People do say, "Oh, I don't have any." Oh, you lying. Yes,
yeah, that's a weakness right there. That's the weakness right there, that you think you don't have any.
That's it, for sure. For sure. For sure. For sure.
Does anyone have anything in particular that they would like to ask Kelly?
Yeah, I got no questions. So that means all y'all gonna get y'all interviews, right? Lorita gonna come back and say, "Kelly, Deborah, Stephanie,
100% right.
They all got their interviews, right? I'm gonna see y'all on LinkedIn saying, "I'm happy to announce that right? I'm gonna see all of that."
Mm-hmm. I have a hard time with like, tell me about yourself. Like, I don't know how far back to go or what to include. I don't know. That's just a hard question for me.
Always framework. So past, present, and future. Write that down. Past.
I'm type it in the chat.
Past, present, and future. That's your framework. So you're gonna remember that. So if they say, "Kelly, welcome to the interview. I'm super excited to get to learn more about you. Tell me a little bit about yourself." Well, I'm super excited about this opportunity as well. I started my career as a recruiter working for Hewlett Packard, where I was responsible for hiring diverse candidates and ensuring that each of our departments had a diverse pool of candidates. Currently, I'm working at Samsung, where I'm responsible for the engineering and operations team. And we fill over 50 hires a month. Right now, I'm excited about my next opportunity. I'm ready for my next challenge. I see you all are moving into the Asian market, and I'm excited because I used to live out in Japan, and I'm looking to contribute at a high level. So I went past, present, and future. You knock that out under 2 minutes and you're golden.
Mm-hmm. How far back should you go? Like regarding your experience.
Go back about 2 to 3 years. Don't go start back. I was born in Illinois in 19. Don't do that, Lorita, because I know you start at the car.
I got to get there, Kelly.
Definitely me. I'm from Mississippi Delta.
I know, see?
I also think that that about me is a good opportunity as well for you to tell your story with the past, present, and future, but also with that present and with that past to lean in on the impact that you made in those roles as well. And I always kind of frame it as an elevator pitch. I say the same thing every single time, and of course, it updates as I do new projects or I'm exposed to new things. But I'm gonna say that same thing every time,
Yeah.
until it just becomes natural. It becomes to the point where it's like I don't have to think about it too much.
I'm just realizing I went too far back when I do my tell me about yourself. I do the elevator pitch, but I've been in the tech space for 8 years, so I go back to like when I first got into tech and talk about each place that I've been and then where I am now, but I've never done the future part. So that's something I'm just learning just now, so I'm going to add that. Thank you.
Amazing. You're welcome. You're welcome. Every question that you get in an interview, we call it linking. You want to link your experience to whatever they got going on. So every single opportunity you get, and that opportunity is going to be a question that they ask, do your best to link it to what they have going on. So that's where that present comes from, or the future comes from. I'm ready for my next challenge. I see that you all are, projecting to get into AI agents in 2027.